How many of you know people that you'd like to eat ferments, but they don't? Or they don't think they like ferments? Okay, yeah. Carrot sticks is a wonderful sort of gateway ferment. They say super crisp. They don't get a real big funky thing going. They don't get super sour. And part of that reason is because on these sticks, think of this versus a shred. You're not exposing nearly as much surface area to the action of the microbes. I haven't really talked about that yet, so we'll talk about that a little bit too. So what's going on when you ferment is you're setting up the perfect microbial home for these vegetables. And you guys might have noticed I peeled the carrots. I don't usually peel the carrots. I usually scrub them really nicely. I like that. But these ones were kind of not as pretty, and I didn't have a good scrub brush to scrub them. And so part of this is aesthetic. But the microbes that you're trying to encourage, well, all the microbes are on the vegetable anyway. And you don't need to add a culture or anything like that. You just need to set up the place for the microbes to get going. And how you do this is with a little bit of saline, the salty water, in this case, is giving the microbes that we want to encourage, the lactobacillus family, the upper hand to get started and start eating the starches. As they start eating the carbohydrates, so the starches and the sugars in your vegetable, they're creating acidity. So that's a really important thing to understand with fermentation, especially those of you guys that have never fermented before or want to make sure you don't kill your family. It's not the salt that does the preservation. So if you have that moment where you're like, wow, this just doesn't seem like enough salt and I don't want to die, let's put in more salt, you don't need to do that. It's the acidity that does the preservation. And so the official number is 4.6 on the pH scale. Do you need to check for that? Not really. Once it starts tasting and smelling pickly, all the testing that I've done has always shown that it's well below 4.6 at that point, because the ferment sort of moves along and then it really swings to a lower place on the scale. If you want to test it, it's fun to do, especially if you're making you know, this with kids and just watching it. You know, you can test it at the beginning, and you can get those little pH strips. They're available, you know, often at, well, we can get ours at our local farm and feed, but also places that do brewing supplies, things like that. You can get those little strips to just dip in there.